Right. Welcome
All
to
right.
another episode. It's March.
It's March. Wow.
Yeah.
What a year.
What a year, right? It's what actually it's March 4th. Wow. I'm okay with that because the last time I looked, I'm gonna do it now. Environment Canada. I want to see if they're still predicting what 16 degrees on Saturday.
That is exciting.
Yeah.
I'm all right with that.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Now there is something odd, Bill. Let's talk about weather. There is a air quality alert in March.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see what this is. I know this is totally
Is that fires?
yeah, that's the first thing we thought, but what does it say here? Stagnant winter weather conditions are creating elevated pollution levels. High levels of
Okay.
air pollution are expected this evening. I don't know what I can't say that word now. Stagnating winter weather conditions are.
I
Increasing
guess.
levels of fine particles and nitrogen dioxide.
Huh. Okay. So the air's just not getting cleared out fast enough,
Yeah,
it
we
sounds
need a
like.
little wind, man. We need to push that stuff on. Wow. Okay. I don't know if I've ever seen an air quality alert in March, unless there were fires, right?
Yeah. No, that's the first I've ever heard of like a stagnant air
Yeah.
warning.
Yeah.
Very
Stagnant
weird.
air. Okay. I'm going to continue to Google this. Night. Wow. I'm going to have a long night tonight. Nitrogen dioxide is a toxic. Yeah, I'm going to stop now. Is a toxic, reddish brown, pungent gas and a primary air pollutant, largely produced by burning fossil fuels in vehicles, power plants, and residential gas appliances. So don't cook on your stove, I guess. Don't drive your car and don't turn on your gas stove, I guess. Stop.
Not me. That's crazy.
Yeah, crazy. I saw it on the Echo, popped up, and it's like warning, and I'm like, what? I thought the weather was supposed to be nice. Yeah. So there's our off-topic entry for the week.
Weekly weather update.
Don't go outside.
Just never leave the house.
Yeah. Turn on your air purifier and don't go outside. There's
I try.
that's what you should do.
Yeah. I try not to in the wintertime anyways. So
Who's kidding? I try not to anytime.
fair enough.
I'm forced to go out every once in a while, and I do it. But yeah, I'm pretty much a little bit of a homebody. All right, let's jump in. You know what? The first segment, AWS news. I have one thing, and I've been looking, and I tried to get back into the habit of reading the news every day. And you know what? There's nothing in there kind of got me jazzed up. This showed up, and I think it's on topic. There is an article that tells you how to run OpenClaw on Amazon LightSail.
Oh yeah, the elemental thing, right?
Is it elemental? I don't know, to be honest.
I think so.
Is it?
It
As
does
soon as I saw
elemental.
OpenClaw, I'm like, well, I have to read this, right? Like it. So
I did see this as well.
pre-bundled to run on LightSail. So you can run your own private autonomous agent, connect it to Bedrock, and then access it privately through some sort of browser extension, which I guess that's a LightSail thing. They said in the article, and to be honest, I just kind of skimmed it because I found it very late in the day today. But it's a way to like, I don't want to use SSH, but securely access it without having to open SSH. So maybe it's like some sort of SSM type integration.
Must be like some kind of Cloud Shell-esque thing that you're doing.
Yeah,
that would make sense.
Yeah. I've actually never run LightSail, but it makes a lot of sense if you just wanted to try something out. It's pre-built for you. You launch it, and Bob's your uncle.
Probably the fastest way to get started with any kind of compute on AWS if you don't know what you're doing necessarily, right?
Yeah.
If you just want something, if you know specifically what you want to set up and they have the option available, you can just spin it up. Takes like 5 minutes maybe.
Run it for a week, see if the hype is real.
Yeah. And there is a lot of hype about this.
Oh,
it feels like I see it everywhere.
Oh, well, I think we have at least 2 other little articles I stumbled across that are OpenClaw related, right? The
Yeah.
other thing though, I do like the way they wrap the article up. They have like 3 bullet points, right? And it's make sure you understand the pricing models, because you're going to pay for LightSail, and then you're going to pay
Yeah.
for all the tokens that you consume. And if you tie it to a third-party solution, then you're going to pay for that as well, like a third-party sort of like, I don't want to say open router, but the idea of tying it to some other model, to
Some API
some
provider,
sort of API
yeah.
integration, right? They had that. They had a comment there about practicing good security, because this thing is in theory on the internet, and if you muck up the configuration, your OpenClaw, we've talked about it before, your OpenClaw instance is saying hello to the world. So
Yep.
yeah, kind of cool, right? Easy way to kick the tires. And if you're interested in it and already have an AWS account, guess you can't get a Mac Mini now. So
yeah.
Speaking,
Are they out of stock?
Well, I don't know. To be honest, I don't really look a whole lot. I know if you're reading anything about OpenClaw, everybody's like Mac Mini and can't get one kind of thing. I don't know if it's just clickbait or what. I'm not in the market for a Mac Mini, so I just don't look.
Maybe if you're in San Francisco, you might have a hard time.
Yeah. Speaking of Mac, did you see there's some sort of news leak or something like that about some new Mac Neo, it's called?
I did see this, like a smaller or a more stripped down MacBook, basically.
Yeah, like now I'm assuming this is US dollars, but it was like $550 base price, coming after the low end PC market, I guess.
I guess so. I mean, if it has like an M series chip in there, which let's be real, it probably does. That's pretty compelling. I mean, depends on how many cores it has, of course, but you can do a lot of work on those M chips. So
yeah, pretty neat. I just saw it as I was reading something else, and the only reason I even noticed it was because the image that they shared was, I think, like neon yellow. And it just caught my eye as I was doom scrolling. I'm like, what is that? And then I'm like, oh, cool. And then I got distracted and moved on to something else.
Nice.
Yeah.
As you do.
Okay, so that's the limited AWS news this week. If I have to read one more time about some other new instance type, I'm gonna lose my mind. Like, I'm like, oh man, how many instance type do we need? I get it, but I need a filtering system. I just, do not tell me about this. It's cool, but I don't care. So anyways, yeah, that's all I could drum up this week.
Yeah.
Where do we want to start? I've got a couple OpenAI things. Do we want to start on the? Yeah, let's do CancelChatGPT.
Okay.
I mean, totally out of my order, but anyways, it's fine. You've obviously heard about this. I guess it's really kind of took off since all the Department of War, Department of Defense, whatever it's called now, and the Anthropic thing and stuff. The first sort of thing that jumped out at me was the uninstall rate on ChatGPT. It's almost 300%
of baseline, yeah, which is huge numbers. I mean, this is everywhere in the media right now. Like, you can see it on. Feels like my Twitter feed's full of it.
Yeah. Crazy. And the other couple things that I mentioned made in my cheat sheet was it's pretty impressive how Anthropic took a tough situation where they were standing up for sort of how they thought things should go. Tough situation, and turned it into a pretty decent PR win. They seem to be coming out ahead outside of all the bluster around, being a no U.S. government agency being able to use it and that kind of stuff. They seem to be working the situation quite well, I thought, just on the articles I've read and how people are switching. Like, Claude went from, I wrote it down somewhere. It wasn't even near the top to #1 in the App Store in like a week.
That's crazy.
Like, it was top 50 still, but nowhere close.
Yeah.
Like,
not
even
even,
to
no.
top 10 even, right? So
not even close. Yeah. It's really interesting. I guess he didn't expect, I mean, I'm talking about Sam Altman, but like, he did not expect this to backfire quite as much as it did, right? I mean, he can't have. Like, I guess it just shows how much people are thinking about this stuff and how much people are fed up with the I don't know, the policies, Department of War, that kind of thing. So it's interesting to see one of these companies take a stand on it, right? So
Yeah. I read some other stuff. I try to avoid the politics. I read somewhere else that like somebody at OpenAI, again, it got too political for me, so I was just like, oh, whatever. It was like, is it the president or something like that of OpenAI is the largest donor to this a super PAC? Like being a Canadian, I don't really understand what the hell that means. I think it's just political fundraising, right? For Trump. So I guess as all this started coming out, maybe people are like, wait, maybe it's time that I spend my $20 somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough, right? Like, you'd prefer to spend it with a company that has values, I guess, is what we're seeing.
Yeah, exactly. And then the other point that I made to myself as I was reading through this is, it seems like Altman did it again, right? Like he had the well, you know how much energy humans use. Was it last week we were talking about that? And now like right after sort of the shit hit the fan around this, he comes out and says, oh yeah, maybe we didn't handle this very well. I'm just like, dude, like I think we were talking about this. You gotta have the PR staff, right? Like I don't get
someone.
Like someone to say, maybe you don't want to say some stuff right now. Just move on to something else. So I don't know. I know there's a lot of, I'm going to forget the website. I know there's a lot, I think it's primarily US based, this idea of sort of canceling your subscriptions as a way of a consumer voicing your displeasure for certain things. I read about it. I think I've told you before, I enjoy the Pivot podcast, even though I find it sometimes a little too political, right? Things that I don't not really super interested in hearing about all the time. And it's Prof G and Kara Swisher. And Prof G, he's got some sort of thing that they've been talking about for months now, about some sort of website or something like that. I'm not doing it justice, but where they've got like tens of millions of views on the website and people are pledging to cancel stuff and all that. And his whole theory isn't the right word, but his whole approach to it is like, listen, you can affect these large companies because everybody's paying these monthly subscriptions, and if enough people cancel those subscriptions, they will feel it. So everybody
how do you
get
get them,
right?
Yeah, how do you get these people to notice you and react? Like the only thing they'll care about is their pocketbook, right?
Yeah.
I think it's a resistant unsubscribe.
There it is.
Website.
Good. Yeah.
Remember,
that's it. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. You'd think I'd remember. I listen to that show every time I'm in the car. It's kind of my car listening. But that's the canceled ChatGPT thing. And I've actually considered doing this, not because of all this, but what I've noticed is that I'm not using it near as much. Like ChatGPT. I'm pretty much Claude and Kuro now. So I'm kind of like, do I want to save my $20 a month and maybe spend that $20 on the next level of, I know it wouldn't offset the whole thing, but the next level of Claude or something like that? I don't know. Maybe. I think you were doing the same thing, right? You're moving between the different models to test them. I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? And I've noticed it's going to come back to another article that we're going to go over later on, but essentially the Claude models seem to be better at being right more of the time, and they go down less goose chases. Codex 5.3 is great. Like, it's really capable for specifically deep coding tasks. But after this, I'm like, okay, I could probably move over back to Anthropic. I was, which is crazy because I was mad at the CEO of that company just last week, right? So I mean,
I know. Well, I remember
how easily
switch over. I didn't realize there was some. I thought it was just experimentation that you were doing on why you were kind of moving between your main provider, right? I don't know. I might save my $20. The Codex app is pretty cool, even though I'm still not using it enough. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence on what to do.
I think there'll be open source alternatives that show up too pretty quickly. Like
we're going to talk about a few of those again today, right? Yeah. So there's the CancelChatGPT, or You can resist and unsubscribe. I probably should do that. If I actually sat down and figured out what I'm spending on streaming services, I'd probably fall off my chair.
Probably.
Yeah, that I very
They pile up so
frequently
quickly.
use. Yeah.
Yep. $20
Okay.
a month each, probably.
Yeah, and then like before you know it, you're really not watching streaming service X anymore, but you just
Mhm.
you know, you don't think about the $20. Oops.
That's how they get you.
Yeah, that's how they get you. Let's talk about another OpenAI article. This is a strategic partnership between OpenAI and Amazon. And what caught my eye about this is the staggering investment numbers again. $50 million. Or sorry, $50 billion.
Yeah.
50 million. Come on, that's nothing nowadays.
That's chump change.
Yeah, chump change, man. It's petty cash. So yeah, $50 billion. And as I read through the article, this is in addition to an already existing investment of like, I think it was $38 billion.
Yeah.
Right. So what's the math? 88 billion at this point?
Yeah, by about 100 billion over 8 years, so about 138 billion they'll be in for with these guys.
Wow.
So, I mean, some of this is in OpenAI's pledging to consume Trinium capacity, right?
Yeah, so essentially,
there's some credits there.
So essentially, what's happening is, I give you a bunch of money, and then you give it back to me by consuming massive amounts of Trinium.
Yeah, of compute. For sure.
I thought it was kind of weird in the article where they're like, they've pledged to use up to 2 gigawatts of Trinium. And I'm like, what kind of measure is that? Like, what is that? Like, is that,
how do you
chips?
compute?
Is that 100,000 chips? Like, how many chips? I guess you could probably figure it out, right? I'm sure Amazon has this number somewhere, like on average, what wattage does a Trinium chip use? I have no idea. I guess you could work backwards from there.
Yeah, maybe it's easier for them to calculate that by rack.
Yeah, probably.
I wonder like how much even is a gigawatt of energy? How many ohms is that? That's a lot of power.
Google, how much power does the Niagara Falls generate? And what is that? It's big, right? But is it gigawatts level? I have no idea.
That's gigawatts. Okay, so 1.887 million photovoltaic panels is a gigawatt.
Okay.
Like in terms of capacity.
Sorry, say that again. 1.8 million?
About 2 million photovoltaic panels.
Okay.
Is the equivalent power capacity based on bifacial module of 530 watts. About 300 utility scale wind turbines, so the huge wind turbines that you see on farmland, for example.
Yeah.
About 103 offshore wind turbines. About 100 million LED bulbs.
100 million LED bulbs.
That's just 1 gigawatt. It's half a Hoover Dam, so I guess this is 1 Hoover Dam worth of power.
1 Hoover Dam, and I Googled it, and
over how much time?
I'm using the AI overview, so take this with a grain of salt. It says, and I don't know if this is the U.S. Niagara. Oh, let me be careful. How much does the Canadian? Because our falls much bigger, right? Let's see. Does it tell me here? The Canadian side of the Niagara Falls generates approximately 22 to 2,400 megawatts of electricity. And we're talking gigawatts.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot of chips.
That's a lot of power.
It's a lot of power, right? Yeah. So, you know what? I don't know. I think the thing that jumps out at me is just the amount of cash that is getting thrown around to be paid back in usage and all sorts of shenanigans, right?
Well, it's more of that circular deal-making kind of process we were seeing at the end to middle of last year, right? With all the Oracle deals and the CoreWeave stuff. So, yeah, more of the same, I guess. Just bigger.
Yeah, and it seems like Amazon gets the ability to run some OpenAI models on Bedrock. There's also something that's pretty cool, but clearly, well, I shouldn't say clearly. It appeared to me to be enterprise focused. It's called OpenAI Frontier. You heard about this?
No, what's this?
So it's a management platform to help you with building fleets of AI agents. And then once
Okay.
you built them, how do you deploy them? How do you manage those fleets? So I think it's sort of large scale autonomous AI agents, and AWS will be the exclusive cloud provider of OpenAI Frontier.
Okay. I mean, well, that's really interesting because what about their deals with Microsoft, right? Like, weren't they in bed with Azure? That's really interesting.
Yeah.
What's
Well,
happened
they're
there?
not getting along very much anymore, are they? So maybe they're looking for their next best friend. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. And I know there's these deals sort of get announced and maybe don't come to fruition, right? Like things happen and it doesn't maybe end up being as big as what it is. But I just caught my eye because of the cash. Crazy numbers.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Crazy numbers. Yeah.
$50 billion is probably more than like most countries' budget for AI.
Well, yeah.
That's huge money.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And then you think about what we talked about last week with the investments that Amazon's making this year in data centers, right?
Yeah.
Basically just the infrastructure that the bill. I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but I want to say it was like hundreds of billions again.
Mm-hmm. Was it 200? I feel like it was 200
Yeah,
billion.
200 was the number that was in my head. I think my Prime subscription is going to have to go up.
Something's got to pay for this, right? I mean, AWS has paid for the Amazon site for years now, right? So
yeah,
I guess it's not that much of a shocker.
Yeah, not that bad, right? So that's our other OpenAI news. What else is here? I've messed myself up because I normally go top to bottom here, and I'm just moving around. Let's talk. There's a couple OpenClaw things in here. Let's talk about OpenClaw. So the first one was, I thought, one of the most non-hypey articles about OpenClaw that I've read so far. This is one, I forget the author, the blogger that wrote this, but it was about their first month of using OpenClaw, and they named their OpenClaw instance Bit. And they made, if you look at the article, I chuckled. They got some great, I'm assuming Gen AI images that go along with the article, but it was really just sort of down to earth take on what they experienced. And I think there's some good lessons here. Like the first thing that I wrote was watch the costs. He mentioned specifically, I shouldn't say they mentioned specifically, I'm not sure, that they racked up like a $200 bill very quickly without realizing it, and then had to sort of adjust to make sure they weren't burning through so many tokens.
This is going to happen if you set up the LightSail instance as well, right? Because if you're setting it up and you're connecting it to Bedrock and you're using the latest foundation models, you can really burn through credits really quickly, right? Like you can be a conversation in and you'll have burned $50 worth of credits with Opus 4.6, right? So you gotta watch out for that.
You got to be careful. Hey, yeah, and that actually just another good thing to always keep in mind. If you're going to do LightSail or anything on AWS, you probably want to set up a budget alert.
Definitely. Always set up a budget.
Yeah, just be careful, right? You don't want to get that scary bill.
Yeah. There's a couple of services that are pretty sneaky about it too, like OpenSearch serverless, for example. If you're setting that up for, it's the worst for that because you will get surprised if you leave that running. You expect it to scale to 0 because it's serverless, but
it does not
quite.
I ran that for something. I don't remember what it was. It was a little kind of personal project of something that I was fiddling around with. And I got like a $200 bill at the end of the month.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Like that's
surprise.
More than my Minecraft server. And I'd rather pay $200 for a Minecraft server than OpenSearch serverless. Yeah, you're right, right? You gotta be careful.
Almost
did you say you almost spend that much?
Last button.
Yeah. That Pokemon server. There you go.
Mistakes were made.
Yeah. The other thing I wrote down was they went through a bunch of sort of gotchas that they ran into while they were setting it up. The one that I jotted down for myself was back up your configs.
Yep, always.
Like just good advice in general, whether you're using OpenClaw or something else. Like I had that happen to me. I've got a little Intel NUC sitting on a desk downstairs, and it runs Docker, and I I was trying to do a sync between my workspace and the Docker.
Oh yeah.
And I overwrote a bunch of stuff because I'm an idiot. And yeah, I didn't have it backed up. So I had to recreate a bunch of stuff. So yeah, back up your configs. That's always good.
Yeah.
What else?
What's really interesting to me about this article is that he goes through the tasks that he uses it for, right? Which is like, he's got a task manager, he's got morning briefings, calendar management, etc. He posts to socials, manages his vault or whatever. So these are kind of pretty much the use cases that I was thinking of when I was working on like a personal AI agent assistant. But like what's really interesting is like a lot of the hard tech problems are solved by the foundation model companies. And like to get these systems working, it's like a bunch of small incremental kind of logistic steps.
I think this is really cool. I still haven't installed it. I think I got just a little freaked out with all the press that came out of it. I probably should spend my time doing other things, but I still think, like, I know you're not necessarily with what that person was describing in their article. You're not building personalized software like we talked about last week, but you can still see how you can kind of take this and turn it into what makes sense for you. And I still think that's the coolest part about this is you're just able to, if you can think of something, maybe you shouldn't always build it from scratch, but it's also a really great way to learn how all this stuff works, right? And
definitely
just get some experience and sort of learn from those early mistakes, and just those are going to be translatable skills.
Totally. And you could kind of, if you can figure out how to word your questions right, if you can ask great questions, you can kind of spin off in a bunch of different directions and explore a field much more quickly than you might have been able to before.
Yeah.
You would have had to go and do some intense in-depth research before these tools were available, right? And you still should do some research, but you can kind of narrow that down.
Yeah, I think I've got a personal story to tell as we get into one of the articles. It's just this stuff, the more I play around with it, the more I'm just like, this stuff is pretty incredible, really, when you think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other note I made, I think is important, is this idea of he does mention in the article at some point switching to Ollama Pro. So he's got free tier access to the same model, or not free tier, sorry, like flat fee access to the models. And the other thing that I wrote was he's using some of the, I'm gonna put words in your mouth. I hope I'm right. Using some of your favorite models right now, like K25, Minimax, and he talks a little bit about how he's sort of mixing and matching those different models based on what he's trying to do, rather than using some of the more expensive frontier models, which I think you and I have talked about, and you've mentioned a couple times on how you're using those lower cost alternatives, right, for specific tasks. So I thought that was, on theme with some of the things we generally chat about every week.
Yeah, totally. It makes sense. They're cheaper and they're close to as effective, right? So
yeah, really good stuff. So that's definitely worth a read. And the thing that I liked about it, I may have mentioned this already, so I might be repeating myself. It's just a good no hype article. Like, these are the things that you might run into, so just be careful. And you're not getting all you got to buy a fleet of Mac Minis and all that kind of great YouTube content, right?
Yeah, back to form with technical art blogs, right? And just show me the how-to and what you did and what happened, and
you can go and build off of it if it makes sense, right? All right. What's the other OpenClaw? Oh yeah, here it is. Somebody wrote a great article about trying to recreate OpenClaw's messaging features.
Yes.
Very neat, right? And the thing that I took away from this was the messaging layer, the ability to use your favorite messaging tool, Slack, Discord, whatever. That messaging layer is actually the hardest part of these systems, and being able to have your agents easily surface information that's important to you. Like we were talking about morning updates, maybe weekly summaries, things like that, and just making it available to you in a format that's easy to consume. This person says, hey, when I was mucking around with this was the hardest thing, that messaging layer.
Yeah, like I was saying before, the hard part is the implementation logistics for building these kind of agentic tools. Like, I was having issues getting it to, so I got my system working with Telegram, right? And I can interact with it on my phone. But there's all these kind of interesting niche cases where I want to send a message. Does that kick off an asynchronous workflow? Does the agent reply directly in the chat, like take that and run it, or does it kick it off to like a background task? What if I have multiple message streams coming in from different services, right? So you could hook these things up to like Discord or well, really anything that you can have an API connect a bot to, you can connect this to. So there's a lot of interesting problems there in that space, and yeah, it's exactly like they say. The hard part is figuring out how to actually handle this incoming text, these messages.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And the other big takeaway was that if you can get a truly autonomous agent or agents running in the background without you having to intervene or interact with it in any way while you're working on other tasks, it's like, borrow a term from AWS. I don't know if they use this anymore, but it's a superpower.
it's like a flywheel almost, right? Because you can kind of just kick off tasks into the background and have the thing pick it up and then message me back when it's done. You can connect it. One other thing I've done, and maybe this is not such a great thing to, I think it's like probably fine security wise, but I've given it like I've created.
It's probably fine. I don't know.
It's my own. It's like an isolated like GitHub account. It's not connected to anything else, right? And it just has read access to a repo that I set up for it.
Nobody can really access GitHub anymore, anyways. It's all down.
Yeah, exactly. So
you're fine.
So what do you call that? Security by inaccessibility or
accessibility? Just don't look over here. It's fine. That's fine.
Security by downtime. I don't know.
Yeah, security by downtime. It's secure because it's always off.
You can't reach it. If you can't reach it, you can't crack it.
Yeah, perfect. If it doesn't respond to your request, it's secure. You can't use it, but it's secure. So I think this one, again, what's struck me with this article is just, it's a good technical blog article that, again, isn't all about just the hype and the fact that somebody let OpenClaw run overnight and now has a $2 million ARR SaaS solution. Like, come on, right? Like, yeah, it's just the likelihood of that happening in real life is not zero, but it's probably pretty close to zero. So just using these tools to help you be, I don't know if more productive is even the right word, but maybe more efficient.
It's lower friction, I find. The best part for me for these tools is I know my attention span has always been kind of all over the place, right? Unless I get really deeply invested into a project and focus in for a few hours at a time. And I always have a hard time starting, or have had a hard time starting new projects in the past. But since I picked up these tools, it's just like, okay, we're just going to work on this now, and then I can just get off and going. So that's the best part for me, I think.
Yeah, really cool stuff. So worth the read as well. Where do I want to go next? I'm going to leave the 5 levels to the end. Let's talk about BullshitBench.
I really enjoyed this one. I think it kind of ties in with something we talked about with the state of benchmarks.
Oh, you took the words right. This is my favorite benchmark out of everything I've seen. So walk us through it. Why don't you walk us through it?
Okay, so essentially, this is from a video that the Primogen posted, but this is a series of benchmarks, or he covered it in greater detail, but it's a series of benchmarks that essentially go through the top of the line LLM models and judge whether they will reject a bullshit question, right? So there's a series of questions that combine some strange situations that you wouldn't normally expect. Like there was one where you are essentially asking it to translate story points into economic value, I think, or if that was an example he gave, I can't remember. But there shouldn't be any real conversion there that you can do, right? But some models will just go and give you an answer regardless, and some models are more likely to reject the answer or sort of flag things that maybe you're asking for something that you don't quite understand. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, I love this. I don't know about you, but I scrolled all the way to the bottom. I think on the website, if you go there, there's like 75 models on the top guy that's at the top, which I think they're almost all Anthropic at the very top, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? And there was there Kimi or Minimax kind of squished in there somewhere too, in those like top 10, top 15? It was there. Scroll all the way to the bottom. There's GPT 040 mini, right? The one that everybody got really upset about when they said we're not going to use it anymore. It's like, it was mostly...
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it'll just tell you whatever you want to hear, right? Probably why people liked it so much.
Well, that's the model. Yeah, probably. I mean, that's the model that was trying to so hard to ingratiate itself with you, right? That it would just, it, like you said, tell you anything, and it kind of caught you in these loops of sycophancy, and is probably the best tool at inducing AI psychosis that we've seen so far.
Yeah, crazy, right?
Yeah.
I love it. This website is really cool. They give you some just insane examples of questions right on the homepage. I had a good chuckle on a couple around then, and then they show you sample responses and stuff. It's pretty amazing. And you know what? The other thing that kind of surprised me was we talk a lot about Gemini too, right? Some of those Gemini models aren't great.
No, this is something, I mean, this makes total sense to me just because of how some of the weirdness I've gotten out of the Gemini models in the CLI before. Like, it kind of explains some of the behavior. Like, it's not being steered properly by the harness. So you get a lot of weird results out of Gemini. It's just not that pleasant to use as a CLI.
Yeah. Yeah. I did get, I think I said this last week, right? I did get unblocked. And I haven't used it since. Like, screw you. So
classic.
No, I'm kidding. I just, you know what? That's another good example. I have it because I have Google Workspace, right? It's rolled right into that. So I have a certain amount I can use. But I just, for what I'm doing, I don't know, Claude and Kiro, man. Just both of them are doing what I need them to do. And why mess with a good thing? So I don't know. I'll probably go back to it again. Probably not for technical stuff, Gemini, but yeah, not for now, I don't think, which is a nice little segue. New Gemini model.
New Gemini model. Yeah. This is, it's
3.1
3.1 flash.
Yeah.
Oh, light. Yes.
Light. So my only comment was another week, another model. This is going to be my catchphrase now. What, 2.5 times faster than...
It's extremely fast.
Extremely fast. I think they said 2.5 times faster than 2.5 flash, Gemini 2.5 flash. Has a pretty good context window, pretty cheap input and output tokens as well. But they did say, and I have tried to figure out why they said this, but it you know, this is just a news release, so they didn't really go into it. They're like, built for, you know, scale. And I'm like, okay, well, give me an example of what you mean by built for scale. But I unless I missed it, I couldn't find anything there. But maybe worth a kick or two at the can just to see what it can do.
Yeah, I mean, there's some interesting benchmarks already on artificial analysis. It's about, it's over twice as fast as Gemini 3 Flash was.
Okay.
And in terms of price, it's in between DeepSeek 3.2 and 3 Flash. So it's 60 cents per million tokens. So I guess they're aiming for scale is cheaper, faster. You can use it in a wider range of, or at scale, just with a wider range of consumers, so a lot more clients probably.
Yeah. That's one thing I will say about the Gemini models. I find them really fast.
Yeah.
Compared to everything else.
They're pretty much the fastest right now. Like Gemini 3 Pro preview is, it's like 90 TP or tokens per second, which is quite good for like a huge foundation model. Yeah. And this thing kind of clocks in terms of intelligence, like on the benchmark, it's just ahead of the GPT OSS 120B. So it's not going to do anything crazy for you, but it's enough to maybe generate some simple conversation stuff or ask vague general questions too.
Yeah. I guess it goes back to the theme we always talk about, right? Just you got to find the right model for what you're trying to accomplish. And you're probably not going to end up with just one solution. You're going to probably have different models for different tasks, depending on the complexity of those tasks.
Yeah, it may be something I would point like an FAQ RAG system to, maybe, or something like that, right?
Yeah. Pretty cool. Okay, what else do I have? Talked about OpenClaw. Oh, let's talk about the LLMs being able to unmask anonymous users.
Yeah, this was really interesting. That's crazy.
Wow.
So this was an Ars Technica article. Um, Essentially, the thesis is that with about 90% precision, you can identify someone, or at least their job title and or kind of some unique details about them based on the corpus of their posts on a social media site. So I think they scanned Hacker News for this.
Yeah.
And they were able to correctly match 67% of Hacker News users to their real LinkedIn profiles, which is crazy.
Crazy. Yeah. Yeah. And they said, I think in the article there, they said something like they don't even need a lot of data to do it. Like if you post like a couple reviews about a movie, they can use that small amount of data and work backwards to figure out who you are.
Yeah. So essentially, if you have a pseudonym on the internet, it's pretty easy to identify that as you now.
Yeah.
It's just, the question is, does someone trying to identify you on the internet have enough time and resources to scan all of the posts that might be you and then run statistical analysis and run it through these models to see if it is you, right? Like,
yeah. Kind of goes back to what we talked about at the very beginning here about, the Anthropic and OpenAI issues, and the fact that Anthropic was saying, hey, you can't use the model for certain things like this. If you've got enough resources and a model that doesn't have guardrails on it, you could use that to pretty much figure anything you want.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, but the thing is, it's like 90% accurate, right? So that's still a 10% fail rate for guesses. So like,
yeah, but this is just to tie it to the conversation of y'all. This is where the human in the loop comes in. I'm 90% sure that this is this person, and then the human takes over and just gets it over the finish line and says, yeah, we got a high level of confidence that this is in fact this person. But it's doing a lot of the grunt work for you first, and then you just finish it up.
Yeah. So for like OSINT activities, if you're doing any kind of penetration testing, you can scan the corpus for high percent matches and then go and target those individuals, right?
State level kind of stuff is what I thought.
Yeah.
They're probably doing this already if you really think about it. Just now they've got another tool to do it. The other thing that I wrote down here was their comment was it's really up to the providers to protect people, and the likelihood of that happening, maybe isn't great. And their comment was, if you're really worried about this, then you just have to post less and delete more stuff often. And they're like, realistically, in today's society, no consumer is really going to do that, right? They're,
the answer is stop posting. The answer is stop posting.
Don't exist on the internet, right? I guess I can't use Letterboxd anymore. They're going to figure me out from all my shitty movies. Actually, if you listen to the podcast, or you know me already, because I just like watching crap movies.
That's true.
Yeah, you can reverse engineer my Letterboxd and figure out who I am. So yeah, it's scary. But when you really think about it, with the amount of technology and the ability of these tools, I guess we really shouldn't be surprised that you can figure out who owns what burner account. Right? Yeah.
More of the same, faster. Yeah.
Yep.
It's just speeding things up.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about, I didn't read this article and I'm going to mess the name up again. Is it Qwen? I always forget how to pronounce that LLM. Yeah. Something is afoot in the land of Qwen. Walk us through that one.
Okay. So if you're not familiar, the Qwen models are the Alibaba open weight models, right? Yeah. So there has been some interesting developments in the Qwen world, and essentially the team is dissolving. So what's happening is one of the top people in the organization left, and then a bunch of other people under them also left subsequently. So it's going to be interesting to see what these people do, because like the Qwen models are very capable models. The latest one, 3.5, I think, that came out is quite good. It's one of the best open weight models, if not the best open weight model. So the question is, what do these people do next? So it'll be that's the main thing. What'll happen? What's going to happen at Alibaba? I don't know, but it's a big
what's the
development for
rumor
the.
about what happened, or is any speculation on what's going on, or just this doesn't exist anymore?
So I haven't seen any speculation in the post. So
Mhm.
Simon Willison did a post about this.
Mhm.
But yeah, the guy, I'm gonna butcher this, but Junyoung Lin, the Qwen lead, resigned. Me stepping down, quote, by my beloved Qwen, quote. So
Huh.
yeah, leads for Qwen Coder, post trading, and VL also resigned. So a lot of top people are leaving the company, and the Alibaba CEO called in all hands.
Wow.
Yes.
Interesting. It'd be interesting to see what happens over the next couple weeks, eh?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So keep an eye out for maybe a new lab coming out of China.
Oh, yeah. Or they won't get scooped up by Western. Probably not gonna happen there.
Probably not, but they might go join ZAI or the Kimi team. I'd be curious to see.
Okay. I'm leaving my favorite article to the very end. Agents of Chaos is another one you and I talked about very briefly. Do you want to talk about that this week, or do you want to wait and chew through that doc a little more?
I can go through this one really quickly.
Cole's notes version? Yeah.
Cole's notes.
Yeah.
So this was it was a post on arXiv, the essentially default site for AI ML papers to be published, right? But essentially what happened was 20 researchers from Stanford, MIT, Harvard, CMU basically spent a month stress testing the latest models, so Claude Opus 4.6 and Kimi 2.5, in security compliance kind of workflows. So essentially they were able to break these models very effectively.
Oh, really?
So you can do things like unauthorized compliance. So the agents were able to execute shell commands and exfiltrate data, for example. They were able to engineer loops in these model executions. So they essentially burn through tokens for days without interruption. I think what the number was 9 days, 60K tokens. Yeah. Without any intervention. So just resource burning. Manipulating, they were able to jailbreak them all essentially by manipulating their constitution or their system prompts, right? So they were able to which is essentially the top level of behavior instructions and guardrails that a model has. So that's kind of like the prime directive of the machine, right? So that's where it checks first for any conditions or parameters that it wants that it can do. And then there's the actual system prompt, and then there's the actual prompts that you're sending, right? So they were able to totally jailbreak that. Yeah, and this was essentially they were also working with I believe they were working with OpenClaw as well.
Okay.
They were yeah.
Huh.
Let's see. And basically, the summary was the brittleness is the same as 2020, comparable to those LLMs of that era. And yeah, these were not like trivial failures. These jailbroken agents had shell access, they had superuser on the systems, right? So it kind of ties back to the LightSail thing, right? It's like, how do you run this thing in a way where you're not, if it does get compromised, how do you run it in a way that it doesn't expose your entire home network or corporate network or whatnot?
Yeah.
And you pretty much need a VLAN if you're going to run any of these systems.
Which is
if you're like safely
good. I didn't mention it, but that first OpenClaw article we talked about, my first month with Bit, the author talks about the fact that they created a VLAN. It sits as I think they mentioned Proxmox, so it's running as a VM in a isolated VLAN, and the only way to communicate with it is through Tailscale.
Yeah.
So it can't see anything else on their network.
Yeah, that's how you should run these things, because if you have any kind of inbound webhook connection, if it's browsing the web at all, there's remote code executions for all of these things, right? Like I think in Cursor, there was an issue where you could you could pull down a repo, and then without any human interaction, they would get RC on your system because you're controlling the agent to run commands from the repo. So that's a huge problem. It's kind of funny that I think Cursor patched that the same day that it was announced by the Oasis team. But anyways, yeah, you got to run these things isolated. You can't run them with other stuff.
Be careful. Be careful.
Yeah.
All right. This is the article that I've been excited about. The 5 levels from spicy autocomplete to a dark factory. So
this was really good.
This is really cool, right? So I stumbled across this because I have discovered Nate Jones. Does that name ring a bell? He's got a Substack and does like I don't know if it's daily, but AI news and just interesting things about how to leverage AI. And he talked about this, and it ended up in my YouTube feed. And I was like, I got to go look at the original article. And this article inspired a project and the way I did the project. So let's go through the article, and then I'm gonna tell you about the project. So this is a great way to measure, I think, the value, or to use the word I used earlier, like how efficient you are with these tools, right? So I'm just going to go through them and we'll chat about them as we go. So level 0 is or level 1, I guess I should call, is what the author calls spicy autocomplete, which is fantastic, right? Essentially, you're using AI as a search tool on steroids, but you're still writing all of the code, right? It might be helping you, autocomplete, but you're still doing all the heavy lifting. So that's level 1.
It's GitHub Copilot, basically, when it first came out.
Yeah, pretty much. And I would probably argue that there are a lot of people that are using it still like this. Right? I do it. I don't use search engines anymore. Like if I'm going to try to find something, I'm using Gen AI to do that. Then you've got level 2, which is a coding intern. You, as the human, write all of the important stuff, but you offload the mundane to your AI agent and let it do that stuff. Okay. Then you get into layer, what am I at? 3? And I think if I remember the article, it's kind of in around here where he believes this is where most people stop. Okay. And this is what he calls the junior developer. So that junior developer handles all the boring stuff. Okay. And you're essentially using an AI like a coworker, right? I don't want to do this. You do it. And you just pass it off to that junior person on the team. And that's where delegating. You're delegating, right? Where most people stop. Next up is a developer. So the AI agent is the developer. You're the human in the loop, which we talk about a lot. That agent is always running. You have it in multiple tabs, right? It's always doing something, but you are still interacting with it a lot. Then we get into,
just in a more managerial role, right?
Yes,
basically.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah. And then that kind of goes into the next layer, and the engineering team, where you are really the development manager. You have become the thing that most developers dread. You're the project manager, right? All you're doing now is basically writing specs and making sure that the work gets done. And then finally you end up in the dark software section, where it's essentially just a black box that turns your specs into fully functioning software. So there's the 5 levels. What do you think?
I think this is pretty accurate. No, I don't know where you are on this, or you put yourself on this spectrum. I feel like I am somewhere in between, maybe like 3 and 4 in my usage, but
that's what I would say where I am too.
Like I'm not quite totally in the dark factory yet.
Yeah. I have some thoughts on the dark factory, which I'll share. Yeah. Okay. So I would say I'm probably in the same, and I would think that most people would probably say during that 3 to 4 range. I would think, right?
It's a really interesting idea, right? Because like what happens when the systems get capable enough and complex enough that you are, I mean, it kind of turns into another layer of abstraction, right? And I guess that's the dark factory piece, where you are, the level that you're abstracting on is like architectural pieces and specifications. So what is, Yeah. What is the? I guess it's what level of abstraction you're at is what I'm trying to say.
I read another article earlier somewhere else this week, and it was talking about how uh, the the price of code is nearing zero. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's good code, but
Yeah.
that code can be generated in extremely, maybe I won't use the word cheap, but cost-effective ways now, right?
Yeah.
And I really think like, yeah, when I think about my early days in AWS, remember the shared responsibility model? I had that literally tacked up on my cube because it's like a
Mm.
fundamental document that tells you who's responsible for what. And I would argue even today, there's a lot of people who don't understand that shared responsibility model. And without
Yeah.
understanding that or being able to figure out sort of where you sit on that responsibility model, you can run into problems. And I kind of had the same reaction to this. I'm kind of like, I should print this off and stick it on the side of my monitor. And every time I want to use one of these tools, I should look at this system and decide, how am I using that
What am I
tool?
doing?
Like,
Yeah.
if I'm just using spicy autocomplete, I'm not getting the value out of these tools. I'm not being as efficient as I could be. It's a good way, I think, just to sort of check yourself on how you're actually leveraging these tools.
Yeah. Agreed. I mean, it's really interesting, right? Because you can get to a point where you're trying to use it at level 4, which is like the project management level or product management level, sorry. But it kind of ties into the idea that the tools are really good at accelerating, or like they're like a modifier on your productivity, right? Or your skill level. So if you are like the average developer, you're going to get scaled up X amount by using these things, right? If you're a below average developer, you're going to feel a disproportionate negative effect because you're scaling that up as well, right? So like if you kind of need to be able to know if the specs you're feeding these things are actually good for it to deliver good results, which is that's probably the biggest pitfall I can see of that kind of mindset. And it's the same all the way down the chain, right? Like at the level you're at, you need to be able to judge the quality of the output.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I agree. Okay. So let me tell you my story.
Okay.
All right. So when I looked at this, I like to think I'm in that 3 or 4 range, right? But when I watched that video and I found this article and I was like, oh, this guy's kind of cool to listen to. What else is here? And he talked about this other idea. He called it the OpenBrain, which is
Oh yeah.
his implementation of a second brain. Do you know that term?
Yep. I use that in my system. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So if somebody ever watches this in the future and they don't know what second brain is, I think of it as like this is just my definition. I don't want to call it a note-taking system, but a human brain isn't really great at recalling all sorts of different bits of information, especially when you get just inundated with so much stuff, right? So instead of trying to remember all that, you put it in your second brain, which might be a note-taking app. It might be something else that you can go back later and go, geez, I was talking to Travers about something. I can't quite remember what it was. So I'll just go to my second brain and it'll remember because I took a good note on that or whatever and pull it back. So his thought was you need a way to be able to very quickly and easily capture notes, thoughts, ideas, and the tooling shouldn't matter, right? The goal is to get this stuff stored efficiently and then be able to, well, for lack of a better word, query it, right? In natural language.
Yep.
Like, go tell me everything we've talked about in the last month on Talking Cloud. And it comes back and gives you that stuff. So I was thinking about it, and the combination of that with this thing, and I kind of think sometimes I'm actually at the level 2 coding intern where I still sometimes have a hard time wanting to not write code because that's what I've done for so long. So I end up being like, oh, I'll do all this stuff because I think I should. And then I'll offload certain tasks because I don't want to do it anymore, or because I don't have the brain power left anymore. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to take this OpenBrain idea and I'm going to see where I can land in these 5 levels with this project. And I did it all with Claude. What I ended up doing was I wrote the spec with the help of Claude. So I said, this is my general idea, right? This is what I want to do. And for me, Slack is my tool. Like, I'm in Slack all day, every day. It's on every device that I own. It's my primary communication tool with all my clients. So it's just where I live, right? Unless somebody drags me kicking and screaming into Teams.
Into Teams. Yeah.
God damn. But anyways, so I'm like, okay, Slack is going to be my thing. Okay. But then I'm thinking to myself, wait, I spend so much time in the CLI. I don't want to have to go to Slack. So I need to be able to capture notes from my CLI. And then I was like, wait, I also use Obsidian a lot. And if I put something in Obsidian, like my cheat sheet for every episode of the podcast, I want to be able to record that too. I don't want to have to create a markdown file over here and then put it in Slack to consume it in my solution. So Claude and I back and forth. And I'm like, okay, this is the spec. This is what we want to build. We want to take this concept of an open brain and I want to integrate it with Slack, but I also want CLI and I also want Obsidian, and then I want an MCP so that no matter what tool I'm using, because I go between Claude, maybe I might go back to ChatGPT here or there, maybe I've got Kiro, maybe I'm using Gemini. All of those tools should use this centralized memory.
Yeah.
Right?
Should be model agnostic.
Yeah, you got
What's
that.
I think I know exactly where this is going, but
yeah, do you? Okay, I hope you're right.
Yeah.
So here we go. I'm like, all right, the other goal is I want to move myself from spicy autocomplete as far up this 5 levels as I can. So the next thing I did, once we did the spec, got that all written out, okay? Then I basically said to Claude, you have to do all of this work. I'm not going to do it, okay? You're going to take the spec, turn the spec into a list of to-dos, and then you're going to execute it. The only time I want you to bother me is when you've completed some work and you want to commit that. You're never to commit anything. You're supposed to generate merge requests. I will review the merge requests, tell you when I'm done, and you can move on. So that's the plan. And don't bother me for any commands. It's okay. You can run commands. I got to tell you, man, I think it's the furthest I've pushed myself along this 5 levels since I've started working with these tools. The thing, it completely works. I can consume notes off of Slack, from the CLI, from Obsidian. I had to do a little troubleshooting before the call to get a few little things ironed out. It did all the troubleshooting for me, right? It submitted all the merge requests. It did everything, man. I literally, it created all the CDK to deploy all of the infrastructure. It runs on AWS. So it's an API gateway. That's what my MCP talks to. Behind the MCP, behind the API gateway, bunch of Lambda functions. Behind the Lambda functions, Aurora serverless, so that it can actually scale to 0, because I'm not using it right now, and I want it to be turned off, with running Postgres with PG Vector. So I've got my vector database in there. Originally, I looked at S3 vectors, and this is this makes me think about what you said about you kind of have to know what you're talking about to write the specs. I know zero about S3 vector tables or whatever they call it, right? So I had a conversation with Claude about it. I'm like, this is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm doing. Tell me the options in AWS for vector database. And I'm like, well, what about this? I heard about this. Oh yeah, you're right. I'm like, go read the documentation and tell me what you think. And it comes back and it's like, hey, this is a valid solution, but it's really meant for massive scale. And for your little personal project, probably doesn't make sense. So there was a lot of back and forth during that sort of spec creation. Was it dark software? No. Was it an engineering team? I become the development manager. I'm basically a PM who writes the specs. I would think I was in that layer. The only thing that I struggled with was trying to get Claude to not ask me if it could run a curl command, or not ask me if it, what was the other one that it kept doing? Cat commands. And it uses the settings JSON file, right? And I have a settings JSON file in the project folder. And I'm like, dude, I've told you like 47 times, you can run curl commands. You can use the temp directory. Ideally, maybe create a temp directory in the project folder, just don't put it in Git, but it didn't want to do that. And I was like, okay, just do your thing. So there was a lot of, I think that's the only reason that I wouldn't say, and I might be overselling it for myself. Like, it wasn't dark software because I was still involved, but I didn't write a single piece of code, not one line of code. It did the whole thing. And I can type on my command line. I can type in Slack. I don't get daily summaries yet, but I have an end of week thing, kind of the same thing that you and I used to do, right? Like, let's sum up the week, what went well, what didn't go well. And then at the beginning of the week, hey, what are our top tasks for this week? It'll do all of that. And yeah, sounds familiar, right? So like, I was blown away, man. I can't. This goes to, again, something we've talked about before, this idea of just personalized software. Like, how I take notes is going to be different than you, different than the next person. And if you know a little bit about these things now, you can just build this stuff, man. It's So were you thinking the right thing?
So I was thinking this was going to end up in, I have a markdown brain 2 structure or para 2 structure that you're using, and then you have some vector DB that you're chunking it up into that you can search with natural language, right? And it's so funny. I wonder if this is just like a thing that people who are developing with these kind of tools just kind of land on. Because it's like one of the best use cases I've found is like using this knowledge organization system. And what you're saying is so funny because this is my development experience since basically Opus 4.5 came out. This is how I've been building everything, basically, is doing this kind of initial spec outline and then just kind of letting the agent loose and then going and doing this across multiple projects at the same time to kind of, in parallel, which is crazy. It's a crazy feeling.
Like today I was working on some architectural drawings, and over on the other monitor, Claude's working away. And I would look over every once in a while because I was still having those like, could I run a curl command? I'm like, yes, for the 900th time, run the curl command. So it was doing a little weirdness like that. So I would kind of peer at it every once in a while and just see what it was doing. But man, it just did its shit. It did like, I meant to look it up before. Maybe I can look it up really quickly. I know we've been chatting for a while, so let me see what happens. I do think I hurt the GitLab server a little bit, though. I did have to reboot it a couple times. It didn't. I don't know what was going on, but it wasn't super happy.
Oh no.
Yeah, I think maybe a little too much knocking away on it.
Well, so what tool are you using to run Claude in, I guess is a good question to ask here.
I'm not quite sure I understand the question. What do you mean?
Are you running it in Claude Code, or are you using like
Claude CLI?
Or Claude CLI? Okay, makes sense. Yeah, I know they have that kind of auto confirm mode, but man, I just don't enjoy using Claude Code. I've had pretty good experiences using OpenCode with the my OpenCode plugin. For this kind of thing, it's just kind of like reprompts the agent to continue if it asks for things like that curl request or whatnot.
You know what? Knock on wood. I think I finally, after this is where I spent time with this in the project, sort of back and forthing with Claude. Like, okay, like let's look at the settings file again. Something isn't right in the settings file because
nice.
You're okay to muck with the temp file. If you want to write to the temp directory for the project, you can do that, right? So there was a bit of back and forth on that. And the last round that I did, it did an okay job. It didn't really bother me a whole lot. I was hoping to tell you exactly how many commits it made, but it's hard to tell. But there's a lot. Oh, here it is. 80 pipelines it ran. And this is over, I started this yesterday and it's done today. So 80 pipelines in GitLab ran, most of them successful. It submitted 25 merge requests. And this is the best part, okay? This is what's really cool about this shit. It's over on my other monitor and it's sitting there waiting for, like, it's like, hey, I submitted a merge request, but I'm over here doing some other work. So I see it and I'm like, damn, I'm like, okay, I need you to notify me when this is done because I'm not watching it. So it wrote, I don't know what the term is in Mac. I'm like, I just need something simple. Doesn't have to be. It wrote a simple little shell script that it uses. You know, in Mac, you get the little notification pop up.
Oh yeah.
It uses
Get a little toast.
A Claude hook that every time it runs a git push, right? Because it's going to push the merge request up or submit the merge request. I get a little Mac notification that says Claude's waiting on me, and this is the merge that it just submitted. And
that's awesome.
Like, I'm just like, yeah, just do this, and it's like, I'll just roll it into the project. I'm like, perfect, and away it went, man. And it, yeah. And the really cool thing is, it even created a, it's not really an Obsidian plugin, but it's a watcher, Mac watcher, like file system watcher. So I said, here's my vault, right? This is the location for my vault. And it's like, yeah, the easiest way to sync all this up is we'll just create a watcher. Every time something happens, save, it'll, right, squish it into the vector database. And I'm like, okay, let's do that. That makes perfect sense. I don't have to save anything. I don't have to dump it into S3 as the ingestion or anything like that. And it's like, it wrote this whole thing, man. It ingested everything from my existing Obsidian that I've been using for like years. And I'm like, don't worry about this directory. That's just shit over there. You don't need that. Look at these directories here. And it's like, well, what about this one? I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about, just ignore that. Right. And, man, I'm interested to see what it does Friday afternoon. Yeah. Like
no
the
kidding.
First update I'm going to get from it is going to probably be a little fishy because it's essentially ingesting, man, I think I have 1,000 notes in my Obsidian vault. So it's going to think maybe it's smart enough to figure out when all those notes were created, but it'll be interesting to see what it does over the next couple of weeks. So yeah, man, I just blown away. I've already got a couple ideas to extend it. And I'm actually considering figuring out a way, probably it gets its own user in GitLab, because right now it's submitting them as me, right? So it's probably gonna get its own user in GitLab. And I'm considering read-only access. I created a dedicated AWS account for it because I also want to kind of understand what this is all gonna cost me. Based on some estimations I did, $5 to $6 a month.
It's probably dirt cheap. I was curious about what your actual RDS spend was going to be, because the rest of it's like it's slammed in and API gateway, right?
API
essentially,
gateway, right? Yeah.
So basically free for most personal use cases. I think the API gateway costs you like $1.
It's nothing,
but
right? Yeah. And then the API gateway has API keys on it for now that I have. And then we're going to put in a resource policy too to add another layer to it. So API key, resource policy. And then I've got the Aurora serverless. I think it defaults to 5 minutes of no activity. It goes to 0 ACUs. So I don't know. We'll
and like how much activity are you really doing, right? Like you're updating the chunks every so often, basically. And then are you querying, do you have like an MCP in front of that to query the database? Yeah.
So I've got the MCP wired up through the Docker toolkit. So I can use it in all my tools, tested it with Kiro, tested it with Claude. And then right now, Slack is just outside of the updates, it's just ingestion. I can't ask it a question at this point. Like I can't talk to the bot and have it spit something back to me like Claude and Kiro will do. But that's my next phase is to
Future project.
write a feature request for it and say, okay, let's go do this now. But yeah, the hardest part was trying to get it to stop asking me to run those commands. And once I figured that out, man, it just churned in the background. The other thing I guess I didn't do a great job on was the troubleshooting part. But that was my own fault because I hadn't given enough access. So like it couldn't look at the CloudWatch logs. It couldn't grab API gateway logs. So that's why I'm thinking giving it read-only access. Like, hey, you go read these logs, man. Like,
if you can get this kind of system log access, then it's way easier to troubleshoot your projects. So good logging habits are awesome for this kind of thing.
You know what? As you say that out loud, do I even need to write something? Because in theory, I could just
the Lambda should be logging already.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's logging already. So I've got API gateway logs. I've got Lambda logs. You know what? I don't think we did anything with the Aurora logs. You know how you can write those to CloudWatch logs too. I'm thinking though, along the lines of how to consume those. I could just use one of the AWS provided MCPs.
Yeah.
Because it's only going to one account. So I could wire it up for that account. And I don't even have to write I don't have to give it like a role or something. I don't even know how I would do that at this point. I don't really want to do access keys. So I was thinking like I use assume, maybe it could use assume.
Yeah. You could use like a Lambda function to do that maybe.
Yeah. Dude, blew me away, man. That's why I was saving this to the end. Yeah, really, really cool. So on to the next project, I think.
Yeah, like this is just how I write software now.
Yeah.
Is like in this exact process.
And Jira's going to get canceled in like 3 weeks because I'm just going to write my Kanban board. Actually, Claude's going to write a Kanban board for me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Actually, you know what I think I'll do on the next one? As a bake-off, I'm going to have Kuro write the Kanban board and see how it does compared to Claude.
That will be really funny to see. I'd be really curious to see the result of that.
Yeah. Well, I've only done something once with Kuro spec driven, and I basically had to nuke it.
Yeah.
It got so out of hand, right? So, well, maybe that's what I'll do. I'll see if Kanban can, the Kanban that I want to do that with Kuro instead. Okay, man, let's wrap it up. Do you have any movie reviews for the week?
I don't have any movie reviews, but we're watching the new season of Survivor right now. And actually, I'm 20 minutes late for the episode, but it's quite good.
Keeping you from your TV. I forgot too much.
It's okay. We'll have to move it up or down next week, maybe.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, that's okay.
Well, we can shift the nights. That's not a problem, man. I don't want to affect your after work hobbies. So yeah, you know what? I don't really think I have much. I'm trying to think of movies quickly. I don't think I spent too much time in front of the computer this week.
Yeah, that's the other thing about this is it's so. Well, maybe I should say addicting, but it's really compelling to be able to do this much on your projects. So that's something I'm kind of struggling with too.
When you finally let me leave, I might not play Battlefield. I might actually get back into.
Oh my God!
I know, right? What the hell happened? Frank and I were playing last night, so I got my week.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah. All right, man. I'll let you get to your show. Sorry for keeping you, but that's another week. Lots of cool info. And you tell me when you want to do next week. Maybe we'll shift it a day, forward or back.
Sounds good.
All right, man. Enjoy your week and talk to you later.
You too.
Bye.